Greetings to everyone. We are from BA1173A1 are going to make a discussion forum about unemployment in tourism. So I, as a moderator, Muhammad Fahmi Hakimi bin Muhammad Khir, is going to let panel number 1, which is Irdina Atira, panel number 2, Khairul Ashraf, panel number 3, Jafendi Arman, to present and explain to you all about the analyzation, the public policies, and how the unemployment in tourism are solved. So, without going to wasting a time, I'm gonna let Irdina Atira to present the first point, which is the analyzation about the unemployment in tourism. But before that, let me explain to you about what is unemployment firstly. Before I'm gonna let one of our panel to explain and discuss unemployment in tourism in Malaysia, I'm gonna tell you about what is unemployment in the first place and what is the importance of tourism sector in Malaysia. So as we know, tourism sector is one of a very important sector in our country. It is because tourism sector is maybe one of our greatest source of revenue and was one of our one of our most productive economic activities back in the day before the COVID-19 pandemic. So why do we choose and pick for unemployment? So we chose and pick for unemployment because unemployment is the reality that we have to deal these days because of COVID-19 pandemic. So without wasting time, I'm gonna let Irdina Atira to explain and discuss about analyzation of unemployment in tourism in Malaysia. Please.
Thank you to the moderator. Now let me tell you about our topic, which is unemployment in tourism. As we know, there are several types of unemployment. For our situation, it is cyclical unemployment. It is also known as the demand deficient unemployment. Due to the economic problems or economic downfall, many industries will reduce the number of workers. These people will become unemployed because of the economic condition or changes in the business cycle. Changes in business cycle means that recession happens, and because of that, they will fire the workers. For example, like this current situation, which is pandemic COVID-19, many industries are downsizing their number of workers. One of the industry that is affected is tourism. Because of the pandemic, our country has implemented Conditional Movement Control Order (CMCO) in Malaysia. Therefore, people cannot go anywhere and they have to stay at home. With that, no one is able to go for a trip or a vacation. This caused tourism-related companies to go bankrupt. The company had to lay off employees to reduce the cost to be paid. Therefore, the unemployment rate will increase in the tourism sector. In addition, airlines are also affected as they have to cancel all flight schedule. So, we did some research based on the unemployment in tourism during this pandemic situation. Shamsuddin Bardan, as the Executive Director of Malaysian Employers Federation (MEF), said in 2020 as many as 2 million Malaysians may lose their jobs. These 5 sectors of economy, which consist of travel and tourism, agriculture, wholesale and retail, construction and manufacturing, are affected to the COVID-19 crisis. Undoubtedly, the hardest hit among all the sectors is the travel and tourism sector. International tourists, which involve particularly 50% of the whole travel industry in Malaysia, have dropped close to zero during this lockdown. According to Malaysian Association of Hotels (MAH), up to 30% of hotels may have to close down. The other business activities related to the tourism sector also are suffering. An estimated 3.4 million jobs are associated with the tourism sector in service starting from accommodation, F&B, passenger transport, travel agency, recreational activities, retail sale of automotive fuel and retail trade in line with the tourism satellite accounts for 2018. Lastly, the impact on airline industry. Astro Awani has been told by an internal source that low-cost airline Air Asia Berhad is set to begin downsizing its workforce. Besides, Malaysia Airlines Berhad is also offering voluntary unpaid leave to all of its 13,000 employees in March in order to curb the effect of COVID-19 to the airlines industry, according to the New Straits Times. A negative effect on subsequent long-run economic growth will occur if high and non-stop unemployment. It affects individuals, the economy, and society. It also poses a waste of resources and drives people to poverty. For individual effect, unemployment destroys self-esteem, promoting social disruption, turbulence, and disagreement. Next, economic effects will cause a waste of resources as there is a permanent loss of output of goods and services. Lastly, for social effects, unemployment results in lower moral and human suffering. That's all from me. Back to the moderator.
There's a lot from her. Thank you to our first panel, Idin Atira, for explaining and discuss about the analyzation in unemployment in tourism sector in Malaysia. So without wasting time, I'm gonna let and please our second panel, Mr. Jafendi Arman, to take the lead in discussing about the public policies in unemployment in tourism in Malaysia. Without wasting time, please.
Thanks to the moderator. So, today I will explain some about the fiscal policy. By understanding the concept of fiscal policy, it is meant by affecting the aggregate demand by altering some amount between the government expenditure and also tax. Besides this, public policy also deals with government management in the economy sector by varying the size and the type of economy and decision making, public debt, government expenditure, and also government revenue. In short, fiscal policy is a policy which is directly dealt by the government with the government management to make an adjustment or alteration about the expenditure and tax. Aggregate demand is an important element in this policy because it is made up of business spending, government expenditure, net export, and also our spending, which is consumer spending. In this COVID-19 pandemic era, unemployment in tourism play a huge impact toward the government revenue growth. As we know, the tourism industry is one of the country revenue and could be of a source of income to others country too. By probing the economic case brought by COVID-19 pandemic, we get to know that the unemployment in tourism affect our country revenue growth. Fiscal policy is invented and conceived to solve the problem which is related to the government source of revenue. This had to do with the government expenditure and also aggregate demand, so that our country economy state will sustain a stable growth. Unemployment in the tourism industry in Malaysia, as we know, has made up a slight trouble toward the government revenue, since many of the tourism industry is under the government. Thus, with the COVID-19 pandemic strict order, or also MCO, which has to restrict the foreigner from coming to our country, has created eventually a great loss to our country tourism sector. Employer then had to make a big step in order to save the company by doing an they need to remove some worker to save some budget. What can the government management do to solve this problem is they need to increase the rate of its expenditure and reduce the corporate tax. The increased rate of government expenditure here is explained by involving the money in a contribution act or helping people who are in need. Such an example, the government give a BPN, which is Bantuan Prihatin Nasional, to B14 and M14 Malaysian citizens. Also, they give RM30 through mobile phone touch and go apps. We can do many things with that things. Therefore, fiscal policy will explain to us the capability of this public policy in helping the government solve unemployment in the tourism sector. So now we go to the expansionary fiscal policy. This kind of policy is quite suitable with our economic condition now, because as we can see, the business and all of the economic activity is at its own recessions and running slow. So, expansionary fiscal policy is expected to boost out and stimulate the growth of economic activity. By using this method, the unemployed worker will receive some help in terms of money to maybe start a new life, new work life, or pursue their current life. Expansionary fiscal policy successful rate can be observed by looking at how Malaysian government try their best to help people who are in need in this COVID-19 pandemic era, especially to those unemployed. So I hope we together need to follow the rules, stay at home, and don't forget to wear a mask to reduce the COVID disease. So the tourism sector can work back and all the visitors from other countries can visit us. So this also will reduce the unemployment level of our country when we can work back when the visiting is coming. That's all for me. Thank you.
There's a lot coming from Mr. Jaffendi Arman. Thank you to him for explaining about the first public policies used in order to solve this problem, which is unemployment in tourism sector in Malaysia. So, without wasting time, we are gonna let and please to you our third panel, Mr. Khairul Ashraf, to present to us about the second policies, the second public policies in order to solve the unemployment in tourism sector in Malaysia. Please.
Thank you to our moderator. Now I will be giving my opinion about monetary policy regarding to unemployment in Malaysia. Monetary policy refers to the actions taken by a nation's bank central of a country. It will regulate the supply of money and reach the strategy of money and also reach the macroeconomic targets, encouraging sustainable economic development. The monetary strategy may also be commonly categorized as expanding and or contractive. In my opinion, there is only one thing that caused the problem to occur in Malaysia. The main cause is the price fluctuations in the country. Manufacturers will influence the supply while the consumers affect the demand. The poor behavior between the producers and consumers through price signals will cause the resources in the economy are distributed inefficiently and also cause the unemployment rate become higher. Therefore, the price control mechanism in the market is not at the actual expectation, and it can also causing problem in the market efficiency. If this thing cannot be controlled by the government, so that the unemployment rate in Malaysia will be increased due to instability price of control. For me personally, there are some actions or the solutions that the government should do is the government need to concern about the importance of price stability. Price stability makes planning easier either on the siding manufacturer or consumer in order to lower the unemployment rate. Other than that, during this pandemic COVID-19, many people lost their job. What the government can do here is they can actually use the expansionary policy. Expansionary policy is actually an expansion that aims to increase the money supply of capital. It will control the unemployment rate during the recession. It also will lead to increase in gross domestic product, or known as GDP, and it also lower the unemployment rate. The other solution is the government need to make open market operations as the solution. The government will buy and sell the government securities and treasury bills in the open market to influence the size of bank deposits. When the price is rising and there is a need to control them, what they do is the central bank will buy or sell to the public, individuals, firms and commercial banks. They will buy the securities and it will lead to reduce the bank deposits. Commercial banks also will lend less to the community. The money supply will drop, interest rate will rise, and the investment will decrease. This is some way that the government can do to decrease the unemployment level. It may not work 100% because it depends on the economics level, but this is some way that can prevent more people from losing their job. They also may need to find a job that is out of their profession to survive in this pandemic. I think that's all from me. Thank you.
Well, that's a lot from our second panel, Mr. Khairul Ashraf, in explaining and discussing about the second public policies in solving the unemployment in tourism in Malaysia. So, what can we conclude here? Okay, so the conclusion is COVID-19 has actually caused many of problems, including these problems. What is it? Unemployment. The government should take an action in order to solve these problems as soon as possible, or otherwise our country will be having a lot of problems, including unemployment or inflation. So we hope that with the presence of each policy that has been provided by our economic expert can overcome the problems that occur in our country and also fight the COVID-19 pandemic at the same time together as well. Job opportunities should be prioritized for local peoples because it could reduce the percentage of the unemployment in our country, because we want our economic productivity to be operating at a full cost, at a full employment rate, which can contribute a lot of income and revenue to our country. So this is all from me, Muhammad Fahmi Hakimi bin Muakhir, your type of moderator, and that is all from us. Thank you for listening to our discussion about unemployment in tourism sector in Malaysia, and we wish you a good day ahead. Thank you so much.